Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan. And this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have a special guest, and I just have to ask y'all real quick: do y'all ever think that you're okay, just kind of healing along on your own? Well, we got some good news for you. Today's guest is Phillip Quinones. That
Hmm.
okay. Phillip Quinones, a clinical counselor and coach who doesn't just help people feel better, but live better. With a background in psychology and counseling, Phillip takes a holistic, down to earth approach to mental health. Whether he's working with couples stuck in toxic cycles or individuals battling self doubt, he brings compassion, clarity, and practical tools to the table. If you've ever felt like therapy was intimidating or not for people like you, Philip's here to flip that script. So, Philip, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing so very well, and I'm looking forward to adding a great value to your listeners.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you from, how you came about going into psychology and
Hmm.
counseling and all that, and just what you do for people today.
Absolutely. I am from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
My family is from the U.S. Virgin Islands of St. Croix, so I'm Afro-Latino, so that's where the Quiones comes from.
Okay.
Grew up from a single mom. My mom was almost 40 when she had me, so I grew up with
Mm.
an older mom just by herself. So that
Mm-hmm.
just kind of gave me a lot of old soul, if you could say, and a lot of high conscientiousness. I like
Mm-hmm.
to often say that I wasn't brought up, I was raised because,
Uh-huh.
again, where she was in her life. And so that just instilled a lot of great morals, ethics, observations of people, just ahead of my peers in that type of realm and type of development. And so kudos to her for that. And so was always very successful in school, never had a problem with that, honor rolls, A's and B's. Up until high school, finishing high school with my associate's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated with that as well. Went on to Georgia State for undergrad,
Okay.
and I did not have psychology in mind at first. A lot of happenstance has happened to me to get to this point. So
Mm-hmm.
I was pre med, realized very quickly I wasn't good in pre med, and
Mm.
then switched to sports management because I've been an athlete all my life, playing baseball, basketball, doing swimming,
Uh-huh.
mostly really taking basketball very serious to get to the collegiate level.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work out, so I wanted to kind of stay close to that after I realized pre med wasn't for me. So I did sports management,
Okay.
and I did not end up getting in the major. And so then,
Mm.
after being in real college for 2 years, went to my advisor and asked her, hey, based on all my credits, based on my timeline of wanting to get out of here in 2 more years, what major can I get that will get me out of here? And she
Yeah.
said, psychology. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just wanted to get out of college. I did not like school. I'm good at school, but never liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point in time, I had no idea what I was going to do. So I graduated in psychology, realized very quickly you can't do anything with an undergraduate degree in psychology.
Mm.
And so I did an audit of myself. I
Uh-huh.
said, what can I do day in and day out that if I wasn't being paid for it, I would still do it? What is fulfilling to me?
Mm-hmm.
What is my temperament of my social interactions with the world?
Mm-hmm.
And what just kind of would get me going every single day, and what do I value? And so I noticed that because of my discernment very early, my kind of wisdom, outside perspective observations of people, my I guess you could say drawnness to older people, and having those kind of high level intellectual conversations, a lot of
Mm.
my peers would really trust me with a lot of introspective of their life. And so I realized I get just having a great conversation with people, making them feel safe, hearing things that either their parents or their siblings or their best friends or their romantic partner never heard. And
Mm.
this random person or this person that I know is trusting me with that. And so I was like, people would call me Dr. Phil, even, I don't have one. And so that's kind of how I got here. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, after, undergrad, I was like, that sounds like a therapist to me. So
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, I was in grad school, and then I graduated with my master's in clinical counseling psychology. And so been doing this now ongoing for about 3 years now. And so that's what I do as a mental health professional. And that's what I kind of want to keep going for the rest of my career, just adding that type of value and safe space for people to change, navigate their negative feelings, and just have better transformations for themselves. And so I do that day in and day out.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. Uh, Interesting that you didn't want to go into psychology. You just kind
Mm-mm.
of fell into it, but it sounds like you were kind of being prepped for it your whole life,
Right,
leading up to that point.
right.
Um, so uh, real quick, what is it that you like? What do you struggle with, right? Because it's almost sounds like there's bits of self doubt or maybe a little bit of lesser self worth, just because you didn't have that initial get go of like I want to do this for sure going
Yeah.
into college. And like I know for myself, I don't have a whole lot of self worth or self belief, and so that is speaking from experience. And I've always had passion for mental health stuff,
Yeah.
but not in the way of like I'm going to do that for a profession, you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. What struggles do you actually face, or what did you struggle with growing up the most? Or
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And so my self-worth, especially with my mother, was instilled indirectly. I've
mm,
always been a self-assured kid and a
uh-huh,
self-assured person.
mm-hmm,
But I think what happens and what disappoints people is that they have these like kind of gargantuous and really big dreams and goals.
mm-hmm,
And what happens is that when you don't reach it, or
mm-hmm,
you don't reach it in the way that you think that you want to go about it, you get
mm,
disappointed in yourself. And so
yeah,
the value of who you are becomes the tangible things that you're trying to achieve but don't reach or
mm,
don't get in that point in
mm-hmm.
time. I was never like that. I loved my childhood. I was very loved as a person. I was
uh-huh,
very encouraged. I was having great personal development as a child, whether it was learning morals, how to act, with other children misbehaving,
mm-hmm,
or if I saw my peers in high school doing things that I don't know were non-productive or illegal, and seeing the repercussions of that. Like I didn't
mm-hmm,
have to. At every single stage of my life, I have seen what it's like to not have the ability to have your worth put on things. So
mm-hmm,
it's just always been me. And
uh-huh,
why that's so comfortable with me is because it makes you so resilient and diverse. Because if you have an obstacle this way, I just go that way. And because it's
mm-hmm,
not a plan, I don't get disappointed in it. It
mm-hmm,
wasn't meant to work out. So I know a lot of people that struggle with that because society tells you that those tangible things are a measure of your self-esteem and your self-worth.
mm-hmm,
But I'm here to tell you that no, it's not. It's just who you are. And
uh-huh,
so my struggles as a human being mostly comes from my dysthymia. And
okay,
dysthymia is a word that is not really used as commonly anymore, but it's just a mild form of depression.
mm,
And what do I get depressed about? One, when the weather changes, when it's really cold, which is very common.
uh-huh,
And the other thing that I've struggled with is my relation to pretty poor romantic relationships with women.
mm,
And so after those things have happened, I've had really um, life changing moments for
mm-hmm,
myself. But it's how you relate to it that I really tell clients, because
yeah,
those things can either be a downfall or those
mm-hmm,
things can be a tangible things for you to learn from. And so from
yeah,
every one of those situations, everything has happened. So for example, I didn't get to Georgia State first. So my first
okay,
school was what was formerly known as Georgia Regents University in Augusta. That's where
okay,
I originally signed. But then I broke up with my second girlfriend coming out of high school, and I was
mm-hmm,
depressed. And so
mm,
I told my mom, like, no, I want to just come back home.
yeah,
And on my birthday, December 11th, when I told I wanted to come home, I was home. And so
mm,
that's when I went to Georgia State and transferred and started that next January
okay,
at that school. So it's kind of like, well, if I never had the breakup and that was painful and hurtful,
mm-hmm,
and I wasn't eating, sleeping 16 hours, missing class, I lost my Hope scholarship because my
mm,
grades dropped. So I lost hope my first semester of college in my career. So
mm,
trust me, all those bad things could have, you know, molded me into this bitter, angry, upset, continuous person. But then
mm-hmm,
I wouldn't have ended up at Georgia State.
yeah,
So I wouldn't have changed my major to psychology if I would have got
mm-hmm,
disappointed and say, I want to be this, and this major is going
mm-hmm,
to show me my value. No, I changed my major three times. And so I wouldn't have ended up in psychology. And so
yeah,
sometimes my life has been so happenstance, but I've
mm-hmm,
been so present and enjoyful about the things that I've been through
mm-hmm,
that even though that they are objectively negative,
mm-hmm,
I don't put a label on the feeling. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a feeling. I don't put
Yeah.
a label on what happened. It's just what happened. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I think that my mom was really good at not necessarily making moments um a label of a negative experience. That wasn't a good time. That
Mm-hmm.
was bad. That was a poor choice. That was
Mm-hmm.
disappointing. How
Mm-hmm.
could you? You know better. I didn't
Mm.
have that. So if a
Okay.
plate broke,
Uh-huh.
go get the dustpan. Like it wasn't that, oh my
Damn.
God, why are you doing that? And I told you that. No, it was just
Yeah.
it broke. That's
Huh.
it. So just even those
Mm.
small moments that I remember with my mom can instill that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do with people as an adult is how they have a relation with the things that are happening and the things that have continued to happen or they've had to or they are in a place where those things are still overwhelming from the past. How
Mm-hmm.
do we just make it about identifying what the thing is and
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily dreading that feeling going on, but learning
Mm-hmm.
from it, using a different part of the brain to understand it because it
Mm-hmm.
has happened. You are going through it, but we can move past that depending
Yeah.
on what techniques and what skills we add to our repertoire in order to attend to that. So that's what I do as a professional. And that's from anything from trauma to anxiety to depression to couple conflicts to different personality disorders, different intellectual disorders.
Mm.
And from any of those type of spaces. So that's what I do. And I've been lucky enough to have that in my life to then apply that to some
Mm.
other place.
Oh wow, that is really impressive. Real quick, can I ask about like part of your childhood? It sounds to me like you're one of the people that are able to successfully sit there and listen to other people's misery, grief, like stories of not good stuff happening, and then going, "I'm not going to do that," and then you just don't do that, right?
Right,
You
exactly.
so the stark contrast for me is that I'll hear those and I'll be like, man, that sucks, and then I'll be presented with something later in life that is similar to that. For example, smoking cigarettes. Like
Okay.
it's a bad thing. Everyone knows that it's unhealthy, this, that, and other. But my curiosity got the better of me, and it was like, well, if it's so bad, why do so many people do it? You know.
Right.
And then I just fell into it for a while, and I'm just now over 2 weeks nicotine free again.
Oh,
So
congratulations, man.
but
That's
that's
what's up.
thank you. But that's kind of the thing is that I fell into the pit of curiosity, and you are able to sit there and go like learn from other people's experiences. So how do you stave away the curiosity aspects of like, well, what if I did it? Because it seems like to me that whenever it goes, oh, that can't happen to me, or something like that, or I'll change the circumstances, I'll do this a little bit different. Do you think that that's ego talking, even whenever someone doesn't have much of an ego, or what is that?
I think it's a natural way for life to help discern and defend itself. So the
Mm.
mind's way is literally looking out for danger and fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is. And then
Yeah.
that's one part of the brain, which is our reptilian type of brain, which is the brain stem. But in the
Mm-hmm.
front is the executive functioning part. That is our logic, our thinking, our analytical, our applications, our
Mm-hmm.
reinforcements of good and bad behavior, punishments, consequences.
Mm-hmm.
That's all here. That's a different part of the brain. And I think that we have developed into that point in our evolution in order
Mm-hmm.
to be able to add that skill, whereas other animals don't have that. They're just pure reptilian brain, pure nature, pure
Mm-hmm.
animalistic. We have conscientiousness. And
Mm-hmm.
so, with that being said, what I like about human beings and why I like this field so much is
Mm-hmm.
because even though we have social implications of different facets of life based on religion, nationality, language, sexuality, like
Mm-hmm.
we have all these different social practices, what I work with are fundamental things that no matter how different you think that you are, you're all the same underneath your skin.
Yeah.
You have a hippocampus, an amygdala, executive functioning part of your brain. You have
Mm-hmm.
blood flow, white blood cells, red blood cells. You have how many bones you have. You have how many muscles you have. We're all the same underneath. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like about the objectivity of
Mm-hmm.
looking at a person. I don't need to go through what you have gone through. I don't need to do that. I need to empathize with it,
Uh-huh.
but I can also see why that would be detrimental because
Mm-hmm.
if most people are going through the same experiences, but they're
Mm-hmm.
having some type of negative consequence with that, well,
Mm-hmm.
my executive functioning goes, well, it's probably not something that is going to yield a positive outcome. So why
Mm-hmm.
would I need to do it? And
Mm-hmm.
so I can also think, okay, in my short term, I may have some type of satisfaction, but in my long term, over time, it's not going to necessarily be beneficial. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people just behave. They're not conscious of what they're doing. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I like to do with people is I really don't know what you think and what you
Mm-hmm.
feel. And that's great. So, for example, if you say, I smoke cigarettes, I'm like, people assume that that's negative. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that I don't know if that's negative.
Mm-hmm.
As a therapist, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't know.
Uh-huh.
And so I ask you, well, Keegan, what was that like for you to be smoking cigarettes every single day? I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
literally don't know. So I'm not going
Yeah.
to associate it with it being a 7 minute detriment to your mortality automatically because I know that, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I, so it could be, no, that's how I handled anxiety. That's how I dealt with
Mm-hmm.
stress when
Yep.
I was doing with work. Okay, I can
Mm-hmm.
see that. So now it's not just a cigarette, it's a tool.
Yep.
And so we just have to say, well, what is the outcome of this tool continue to be used in this type
Yeah.
of way?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we need to add a different tool that maybe has a similarity but doesn't necessarily have as much of an outcome. So if
Mm-hmm.
we went from cigarettes to hookah or vaping, that's a little bit better. So
A
I
little
can't,
bit, yeah.
it's a little bit better compared to that. So that may
Yeah.
be success
Mm-hmm.
for you, but to get you to stop the addiction or stop
Mm-hmm.
the habit, that's not success in therapy. So
Yeah.
I say, so there's something you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you need help changing that you're ambivalent about? But one thing we don't do is put morals and values on
Mm-hmm.
feelings. They're
Yeah.
just feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that's what's very helpful to train clients with that. And I've been able to do that through my life. So when somebody comes in,
mm-hmm.
I just treat them all the same because it really does not matter.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. And it sounds to me like you don't associate morals with feelings because the way that you were raised, quite literally, because you weren't raised to fear consequences, and that is amazing. And for instance, actually, quick question: do you think that people are born inherently good or evil?
That's man, that would be its own episode for sure. We could talk about that for hours.
Uh huh. So, for instance,
I
for
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
I was just going to say, for me, I believe that we're inherently good, and we are taught to fear consequences, and that is the whole start of self survival in a sense, right? Because in the instance that I was presented with, it was whenever the kid eats cookies from the cookie jar and you ask them if they did it, they're going to tell you no. And even though they have crumbs on their face or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah, the
well,
evidence. Yeah,
they're going to tell you no because you made them afraid of telling the truth. You made
absolutely.
them, yeah, there is a consequence there that they are afraid of receiving. And it's not because that they're bad. It's not that they want to lie. It's that they're looking out for themselves, you know? So apologies on that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Were you
no,
starting?
you're fine. No, I agree with you on that because especially as a parent, yes, we can put two children in the same situation and they'll just turn out differently. That's
Mm-hmm.
just how life works. Whether it's
Yeah.
trauma, whether it's a reinforcement of feeling safe to have that autonomy to just disclose the truth and not have a
Mm-hmm.
negative consequence. You may be perfect and your child may end up at least socially in a very negative circumstance. It's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
And Rogers was very good at that because he did an experiment with a drunken parent and a non-drunken parent and how they turned out, and the kids just turned out differently. But anyway,
Mm.
if it's good or bad, there are a certain amount of people in the world at a very small number that are able to look at other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, other than that, 99.99% of people that have ever been able to be a human being are
Mm-hmm.
just animalistic. And maybe they have consciousness, but they're just animalistic. So it
Yeah.
really takes a select few people to say, well, what are we doing? And how do we label that as language and symbols and infrastructure? And our brains have been able to identify that from the caveman, if you want to say, all the
Uh-huh.
way up to now being more civilized creatures. There's
Mm-hmm.
only a few amount of people that have been able to be born to do that. So when we talk about good or bad, that's
Uh-huh.
why when you read a lot of philosophy, it's not necessarily labeling as good or bad. It's just
Mm.
calling it what it is. So how
Yeah.
I see it is people are inherently made to protect themselves.
Mm.
How they go about protecting themselves is operating from a survival standpoint in
Mm-hmm.
their brain.
Yeah.
So, again, and you can justify from a moral standpoint in any situation what's good or bad. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I think universally throughout time, we can agree that killing somebody is probably the worst thing that you can do to a human being. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's just top tier, and there are other worse things than that. But it's kind of like, well, maliciously killing somebody is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm defending myself and somebody happens to get killed, I'm morally good.
Mm-hmm.
So even so, it's just that the objectivity is the
Mm-hmm.
word kill. Why are we labeling it good or bad? Because I can kill an animal for my sustenance
Mm-hmm.
as my nutritional value as a human being as I need to survive.
Yeah.
But if I kill them just for sport, it's
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Or
Mm-hmm.
human being. So it's just a word. And you give the value to that word. But I do think every day, day in and day out, people, what we call Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Mm-hmm.
you go about your day trying to survive. Your body right now, all the time, it's trying to survive. So you
Mm-hmm.
need food, water, and shelter and money, now that we're
Mm-hmm.
civilized, in order to do that. How you
Yeah.
go about that survival is neither good or bad. I just think that you're meant to survive. And as we observe other animals in their type of nature and habits, all you see is survival. So you
Mm-hmm.
think that because we have conscientiousness and we can put ethics, morals, and values because of our consciousness on the behaviors, that
Mm-hmm.
makes us different than a lion, than a jaguar or a tiger going after what they need to go after or protecting what they need to protect. No, it's just survival. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a moral of good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
We implement that. So in your personal life, I would
Uh-huh.
say that you don't need to label your feelings or your thoughts as a moral or label. But
Mm-hmm.
as you socialize with people, yes, there are behaviors
Mm-hmm.
that are ethical, need morals, and need values because that's how we stay civilized.
Yeah.
Right, because we
Yeah.
wouldn't. We would just be animals, like
Mm-hmm.
real animals.
Yeah, and you raise a really good point whenever it comes to the whole moral aspect of things, because whenever we're in the moment, whenever we're in the thralls of a situation, morals be damned. Everything's out the window.
Flight, fight, or freeze, or fawn. They added fawn now. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's it. It's how am I surviving?
Yeah, and that's the thing is that after the fact of a situation happens, that's whenever you can sit there and be like, oh, did I act in good faith? Did I act as a moral person? Was this ethical? And then you can sit there and evaluate yourself. But at the same time, if, like you said, if you were to sit there and just put that label on certain things, you're damning yourself into a negative thought loop in a sense that is really hard to break out of because
Yes.
self-talk is everything, man. So you are able to help people essentially break down the objective truth and then just tell them as it is, straightforward, like, hey, this is what it is. And so you just kind of got to switch gears a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah. I help navigate them to figure that out for themselves,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And it's little nudges, like, but they have to figure that out for themselves. So as a
Mm-hmm.
therapist, my one line that I say is that I process change. And
Mm.
so this person already wants to change something because I
Yep.
didn't show up at Keegan's house saying, "Hey, do you want to do therapy? Do you want to you have a problem? Do you want to change?" I didn't do that.
Yeah.
You came to me. So that
Uh-huh.
unconscious or conscious motivator, there
Mm-hmm.
is a reason why we do what we do.
Yep.
So you don't just go to the hospital to hang out with your doctors. No, you go there to have a problem and get a
Uh-huh.
solution and get out, and then
Yep.
deal with the insurance companies after. But it's the same thing with psychology. You're not supposed to
Uh-huh.
be here for a long time unless you have a mental illness, which is a
Mm-hmm.
very different case than
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a mental health problem.
Yeah.
So I help navigate you and nudge you
Mm-hmm.
to process your change for yourself. Because what I would want you to do, my advice, my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
isn't going to help you change
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Science has not shown that. That has to come from your own motivation.
Yep.
So I find different interventions in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to do that, depending on what type of symptoms you are experiencing. So I
Gotcha.
have to let that person come to that. If not, like, I don't know if you heard the show of Danny Phantom,
Mm-hmm.
back in Nickelodeon, right, where he
Yep.
can just go into somebody's body. I wish I could do that. I'll be a billionaire therapist if I can just be able to make the change for somebody. But I'm not Danny Phantom, so I can't
Uh-huh.
go in you and make you do what I want you to do. You have to
Mm-hmm.
come to that on my own. And so there's a science with getting people to change for the betterment of themselves. And like you said, that self-talk, self-reflection,
Mm-hmm.
that introspective, that really sitting with your feelings and be able to think about what it is you're going through
Mm-hmm.
is a space that we can create for you to help make that more proactive in your
Yeah.
change process.
Yeah. And from the sounds of it, you actually sit there and you nudge them in the right direction by asking them clarifying questions for themselves. Because the more that they understand their own story from the perspective of themselves, from the outside lens, they're able to sit there and kind of get that second viewpoint that makes them go like, "Oh shit, yeah, okay, never mind. I was acting a little silly there, right?" And so, like you were saying, that self-talk can be changed. So whenever that self-talk needs to change, how do you guide your clients through that? Because it's not necessarily as simple as saying, "Oh, just don't speak to yourself that way,"
Right.
because it's been ingrained, it's been programmed
Exactly.
into us that if I do this, like, of course, we've heard examples of like, would you talk to your best friend that way?
Yeah.
So you need to become your own best friend. It's like, okay, well, sure, yeah, that sounds great, but
Right.
I'm me, and so I know all parts of me, the parts that I don't like, and those
Mm-hmm.
parts don't deserve to be out in the real world, right? So how do you guide people into correcting their self-talk, especially like if it comes to anything in society, like let's say dating, for example?
Okay. Yeah, let's start there. So two things popped up from my mind.
Okay.
One is there are 5 stages of change.
Hmm.
There's pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance.
Okay.
In any facets of our life, we can be in different stages in different ways.
Mm.
For
Yeah.
example, let's say somebody, it's New Year's, and somebody
Mm-hmm.
has a New Year's resolution because they want to be fitter and healthier and get into a healthier wellness lifestyle,
Uh-huh.
and which everybody does, and that's why gyms skyrocket in January. But it's kind of like, oh, they've pre-contemplated because they're like, no, I don't need to change, and then they realize, like, I'm contemplating, like, what would it look like, what would I feel, the nutrition and what I have to eat and how much I have to
Mm-hmm.
work out and my sleep and my hydration. And then preparation is like, okay, I'm getting the membership, I'm going there, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay consistent, but I'm kind of in and out. Like, I'm go for a week, I go for 2 days. There's a
Mm-hmm.
yoga class here, I go with that, but it's not something I'm doing. And then action is like, no, I have a consistent, objective measure of what I'm going to do to change and reflect on
Mm-hmm.
what that action or consequences, both positive and negative, are going to reinforce whether or not this is going to be adopted or not. And then maintenance is, now I got this, I know it works for me.
Mm.
So, in any facet of your life, your relationships, finances, physical health, mental health, emotional health,
Mm-hmm.
career, whether or not you want to go to the grocery store, whether or not you want to buy this, sell this, start that, end this. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what, you're in a stage of change. And
Yeah.
so identify where that stage of change is. So with a lot of clients, we stay in the contemplative preparation stage a lot before the action because they're not ready. So I
Mm.
can't determine when somebody is ready to
Mm-hmm.
change.
Yeah.
That's not my call. That is their call. So we
Mm-hmm.
stay in that self-talk, reflective, introspective. What intervention works? What would it look like? We have change talk. We have sustain talk. There's very measurable ways to look at how somebody is preparing to do their change. So that's one thing that really helps
Okay.
with that. The second thing is we have a in our arsenal a feelings wheel. In the
Uh-huh.
center of the feelings wheel, pretty smart people have determined what are fundamental unconscious feeling that we have that we
Mm-hmm.
operate from, and then as we expand that, it gets bigger and more definable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
In
yeah.
the fundamental, there's six of them. Four out of the six are negative.
Yeah.
So 66% of our fundamental feelings that we operate from are negative.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I try to convince somebody to try to go and operate within the other 33% of their
Mm-hmm.
fundamental feelings?
Yeah.
That's illogical. That's not sustainable. That's
Mm-hmm.
unachievable. Again, talking about those kind of disappointing goals if I don't reach them, and them defining me. If I'm not
Yeah.
happy, if I'm not in love, if I'm not doing something productive, if I'm not euphoric, if I'm not smiling, if okay, I'm just like, well, then you're just not doing it. So what do I
Yeah.
do? I have people have a
Uh-huh.
relation with their negative feelings. Nobody
Ooh.
told you that you need to operate within a positive feeling when you
Mm-hmm.
need to do something.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you look at a tiger, you look at a lion, it doesn't matter if it's sleet, snow, rain, a good sunny day. It don't care if you're on Pride Rock. It doesn't matter. You need
Uh-huh.
to go and get what you need to do. You need to protect your
Mm-hmm.
hide. You need to protect your lioness, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
go get food.
Yeah.
That's it. So they
Yep.
don't operate within looking at it. Oh, I'm happy today, and everything is go lucky, and I can do it when I'm happy.
Yeah.
No, that's great if you go through life and have those experiences and that joyfulness and those good memories and that laughter and
Mm-hmm.
good vibes and positive. Awesome. But
Uh-huh.
as it relates to the inside of what's happening, I try to train people to have a relation to say, how do I still do what I need to do, even when I'm most of the time
Mm-hmm.
going to have a negative feeling about it? So
Mm.
I don't like to change somebody if they have major depressive disorder. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be the most outgoing and euphoric person there's ever been. That's
Yeah.
just not how it is. So
Mm-hmm.
if we improve from severe major depressive disorder
Uh-huh.
to more moderate mild, we made a thing. So you may be just prone to more negative feelings and emotions, which is called neuroticism,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to operate within those. Like
Mm.
you keep striving for this social, I guess, picture perfect, influential thing that the marriage has to be happy. No,
Mm-hmm.
it's just marriage.
Yeah.
Like I have to love my partner. No, you have to do what you say you're going to do in order for
Mm-hmm.
that person to feel love when you don't feel like it. You're going
Yeah.
to be inconvenienced, burdened, annoyed, pissed
Uh-huh.
off. You still got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Like, so when it comes to dating, a lot of people have that kind of cynical way of looking at how they go about dating because
Mm-hmm.
they think that the dopamine that they're supposed to receive and the serotonin levels that they're experiencing chemically when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a person or an experience defines that there's going to be a correlation with a successful positive relationship, and that's not
Uh-huh.
true. So what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying with a lot of people, even that first date, is
Uh-huh.
no, one, you need to sacrifice on your end.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it's just an impression. It's an interview. Like the first one is going to be like this person. I'm 28. Like I have 28 years of life that you
Uh-huh.
have never heard of. And you think that you're going to understand all of the fears, negative experience, positive experience, insights, life circumstances, death,
Mm-hmm.
friendships, exes. Like you think you're going to understand that within 2 hours of getting some drinks? No, that's not going to work. So
Mm-mm.
it's about making the investment
Mm-hmm.
that you would if it was the stock market and in your finances into a person. It's the same
Yeah.
way. The stock is going to go like this all day long, but you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at it on the day. No, but if you look at it on the year, it looks like this.
Uh-huh.
But you're just stuck on this part and you're getting anxious about that. But I'm just like, no, operate within your negative feelings. If you're not feeling it, it's not about your feelings all the time. It's about sometimes what you know. Your feelings are there of just an interpretation of what your body is experiencing. That's
Mm-hmm.
all feelings are. We've labeled them because of
Mm-hmm.
language, but
Yep.
that's all that they are. And that doesn't mean you have to behave
Mm-hmm.
based on how you feel all the time. That's
Yep.
not how it is. Because
Mm-hmm.
if not, again, we would be very uncivilized if everybody was just acting on what they feel all the time. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
way to implement an intervention to help clients relate to that differently in their life.
Okay, I love this because you're not sitting there, you're not saying that at first, whenever you were talking about being more objective based and everything, I was almost afraid that you were saying like feelings be damned, like they don't need a place here. But that's the thing is that you went right into what I was talking about with my therapist whenever I was in rehab
Okay.
of just like once we find our lines, we actually have more freedom to operate within those lines. We
Absolutely.
actually have a playground, if you will. We
Yeah.
have we once we know where we're at, once we know our environment, we're free to do whatever we can. But that's the hard part, right? Is whenever we're taught that negative feelings shouldn't even be felt sometimes, and
Yeah.
we feel
That's
them, and
yeah.
yeah, it's silly because, like you said, our the main part of us is negative, and that's because it's all based off of fear, survival, and instincts. And like, I'm sorry, but not a lot of nature is very happy. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
if you look out in nature, it is absolutely brutal.
Dog eat dog world.
Hmm.
Hierarchy. What's the guy? Um, evolution with evolution.
Oh, Darwin.
Darwin. Yeah, Darwinism. Survival of the fittest. Thank you.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
like
Yeah.
that's it. That's really all. It's not. It's not this Nature Geographical Discovery Channel edited type of beautiful. Oh, the sun and the gazelle and the no, bro. It's a dog eat dog. If you really put us back in the jungle, like go
Uh
like
huh.
it's not about that. From the smallest creatures to the biggest ones, like
Yep.
it's just about survival. So yeah, you're so right about that.
Yeah, if anything, I would have to say that our good feelings came from like the morning after a brutal like stampede went through the village or something, you know, just like, oh, holy crap, I made it. Woo!
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like, all right, I have a good morning cup of coffee to go. That makes my day awesome, you know? That's good that we can do that kind of thing, but I don't think that that's the thing that we need to strive for. And I love that you're talking about embracing the negative feelings because it's just part of life. So, and whenever it comes to the whole dating aspect, uh, it's very good that you put it in the term of it being like an interview because a lot of people will sit there and they kind of well, and this is every person, every relationship is going to be completely different, and so
Yeah.
a lot of people will sit there and they'll do comparisons on dating, and just same thing with whenever it comes to like mental health. People sit there and they look at someone, they go, man, they've got it all together, so I got to do everything that they're doing,
Yeah.
and then they're having troubles dating and whatnot. Then they go, all right, now I need to do everything that that person's doing, but they don't actually understand that that person may be miserable behind closed doors. So,
Absolutely.
um, how do you how do you make people reconcile the negative self-talk that they may have with themselves whenever it comes to the dating world? Because in today's world, that is we've got Tinder, we've got all these different things. Like I'm lucky that I got married, and that's the thing, right? Like not everyone feels like they're lucky in that aspect either. Some people feel like they may have settled. Some people may feel like they didn't know what they were actually signing up for whenever they did it because like you said we have to do what we said we're going to do whenever we don't feel like we're supposed to do that thing that we said we were going to do. So how do you help people overcome those boundaries with themselves?
Absolutely. I would say what popped in my mind was, how is this true? How is it true that you don't find yourself to be worth X, Y, and Z? How do you find yourself that you are not this? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're not that, you're actually not that. So it's
Mm.
just kind of like your relation to it, you think that it's negative. But I'm also
Mm-hmm.
saying, well, what would be the worst thing if this was actually true? Well,
Mm-hmm.
and literally sometimes it's one or two sentences. Well, then I would be that. And I'm like, okay, well, how about we start to accept that
Uh-huh.
more than deny it? Because the more that we're pushing back, it's like two magnets. What is it? When they're the same polarized, either
Mm-hmm.
positive, positive, they just push back. Like
Mm-hmm.
that little field in the
Uh-huh.
middle, whatever that is just pushing back and back. But I'm just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, what if you just start to relax a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, like, what is true about this? So I think there's a wisdom in life and in experiences that nothing new is under the sun. And
Uh-huh.
so, with that being said, if there's a lot of experiences or feedback that when we are working together, that we realize that there is a fundamental principle or pattern
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of the same circumstances happening, especially in your dating,
Uh-huh.
it's not the other people, it's you.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's not them. You know why? Because nobody can make you do anything and nobody
Uh-huh.
can make you feel any type of way.
Yep.
This is you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about what are things and feedback and circumstances that have happened that have produced this same type of outcome from you. You
Mm-hmm.
want to victimize yourself about it and say, whoa, it's me. But I'm sitting here saying, no, you need to be accountable for what you need to be accountable for. So if you have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of exes
Uh-huh.
telling you the same things, have voiced the same things, if you have a lot of arguments or reactions to the same thing, you need to think about why are you having those reactions and those responses? You haven't
Mm-hmm.
attended to them. So
Mm-hmm.
and then if you have the same outcome, it's probably you. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually always you.
Yeah.
So it's about trying to teach people how to use their negative self talk to say that this is a part of me.
Uh-huh.
And it's okay that I'm feeling this type of way and I'm operating
Mm.
from this. It
Uh-huh.
is okay that I can still feel this
Mm-hmm.
and still want to be able to hopefully give somebody some type of good experience with me, even
Mm-hmm.
with this. They're
Mm.
not supposed to burden those type of feelings. They're not supposed to have the repercussions of somebody's past mistakes. And they're really not supposed to have the experience of your unattended accountability
Mm.
because they didn't ask to be here. You wanted them to be here and be a
Uh-huh.
part of this.
Yeah.
So you need to attend to you before you put that on somebody else. Because again, you guys are going to be a burden for each other. It's about
Mm-hmm.
how much that person is supposed to bear
Mm-hmm.
your burden.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be where your traumas from childhood, your mom and dad relationship, your exes, your
Mm-hmm.
all those type, they're not supposed to deal with that.
Yeah.
So attend to you. And I'm a very, kind of straightforward therapist when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So the other part is I think people need to realize that what is this relationship for? And a
Mm-hmm.
relationship is about how am I able to service somebody else? It's
Mm-hmm.
not about you. And
Yeah.
that's very hard with my clients to kind of get that point across. It's about,
Mm-hmm.
well, as soon as they start talking about it, I ask them, well, what do you think they thought? What do you think their reaction was? What do you think that they were experiencing with you that caused this? What was your part in this? And they're like, well, why do you want to know about that? Because again, you need to learn about that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care what happened. You need to learn about why those things happen because those things happen for a reason. If it
Yeah.
was a flight or fight response, oh my God, I'm a victim. No, that's called defending yourself. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's called defending yourself. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
verbally or whether sometimes it's physically, that's called defending yourself. If this was
Mm-hmm.
not brought upon you, and so, oh yeah, like this person just woke up being mad at you. This person just woke up with the decision to make that they made. No,
Mm-hmm.
there was a pattern. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason why this has happened. And so I just try to get people to have a relation with that. And then especially now with this technological age of
Uh-huh.
Tinder, Hinge, Be Okay, those type of Bumble, those type of things.
Uh-huh.
Like, bro, this is not real life. This is
Mm-hmm.
just a snapshot of a person that yes, we have to be physically attracted to them, but
Uh-huh.
again, they have years of life of fear, insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
traumas, how they grew up, their beliefs, their
Mm-hmm.
foundations, their strengths, their intellectual, they have a lot of family structure, their
Uh-huh.
religion, like their
Yeah.
nationality, where they come from. Is it individualistic? Is it um, group oriented? Like there's a lot that you don't understand in a snapshot of a swipe from left to right. There's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
you don't understand, and so
Mm-mm.
understand that you have to sacrifice and get to know that person outside of what's their favorite color and what's their favorite movie. Like
Uh-huh.
it's a lot that you have to invest in. And again, don't look at the day to day and say it doesn't work for me today. No, when you because you're on the day to day basis. When you
Mm-hmm.
get out and you start looking at the bigger picture, it's going to look as if it were to grow. But you have to put something into it to get what you want out of it. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, just like you said, aren't willing to do that. And some people just don't align with that. So you either have the short-term people who just want the short-term stuff, or you
Uh-huh.
have the long-term people that is making it more difficult because the short-term people are more here to stay than the long-term. So
Mm.
it's just finding the right people to align, but that's what dating is for, is finding the right fit for yourself. But do the work before somebody has to make you a burden, both man and woman.
Mm. Man, that was beautiful. Thank you for that. That was a wonderful breakdown. And I mean, we're close to our game show aspect, but
Yeah, yeah.
I've got to ask real quick. Do you think that we can see you on in the future? Because I know we've got a lot
Oh,
more room to cover,
yeah.
and I love this conversation.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. No, I would love to be on. Yeah, great question. This is amazing. I love this energy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And uh, for some reason, while you were talking about the whole dating aspect and trying to understand other people, first of all, not first of all, I'm already saying that. I would like to also say that I love how you're emphasizing that the relationship is about serving the other person, not being served. And so I think that a lot of people could clear up some uh, like messy situations just by being straightforward at the very beginning in that aspect, like, are you here to serve me or are we here to serve each other, kind of thing. But I got an image in my head of just like, if people were books, that would help out a lot, like if for your first date you just come up and you say, hey, like, this is my book, this is how big it is,
Yeah,
right? And then
right.
someone else like comes up and it's just like Gone with the Wind or something, and it's like, oh shit, like I got a lot of work to do. But
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the things, is that if we were actually able to sit there and visualize how much someone has actually been through and saying like, hey, this is what you've got to understand to really get to know this person, like it is going to be some actual work. Are you willing to do that? A lot of people would probably say probably not. And
Right, absolutely. They wouldn't. But I think that's
mhm,
the beautiful thing about the relationship. The relationship is supposed to be a continuous discovery. It's not
mhm.
supposed to be looking at your life browser history of what it is. To me, it's like that's a I guess you're going to find a problem, kind of like red card theory. Like,
Mhm.
again, you're operating from a space of defense, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that has to connect you in a relationship is vulnerability. Like,
Mhm.
you have to be vulnerable about everything
Yep.
in order to really have that very rare connection with another person. So
Yep.
to me, if we had the book and we had the browser history, we would find a problem to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
And to me, it's kind of like, no, like
Ooh.
people change. And so this
Uh-huh.
is about now and going forward. We
Uh-huh.
can't go back, just like if you kind of look at it like a stock, we can't go back and buy Apple in 1990. We can't go back and buy Microsoft when it first went public. We can't go
Uh-huh.
back and buy Bitcoin in 2010. Like
Uh-huh.
we can't go back now. And we could have
Mhm.
said, I could have. You didn't.
Mm-mm.
So we can only go forward. So to me, it's like I've worked with some of the, I guess you would say, objective negative things. I've worked with women that are on the streets selling their bodies,
Mhm.
but have turned out to be amazing mothers. Once they're
Yeah.
done with that life and done
Uh-huh.
surviving, they have 3 kids, a nice husband, and a beautiful thing. So if I said, "Oh my God, you were on the streets, you were selling your body for money," and no, she had to survive.
Yeah.
Like if I only read that, like if it was a
Mhm.
Harry Potter book, then my
Mm.
imagination is going to create what it creates. That's like if you and I
Mhm.
read the same color, like it was a blue car, you may think Midnight Navy. I might think sky. Somebody
Yeah.
else might think royal.
Uh-huh.
So blue, it's interpretive
Uh-huh.
of what blue means to us. I think it's the same way in people's lives. Whereas I know people with women with PhDs and that do talk show hosts and are very well known and very well off that make terrible partners based on the things that they tell me and
Uh-huh.
the feedback from the people that I know they've dated. So there's just no correlation
Mhm.
with somebody's past and any tangible societal measure that
Mhm.
correlates with a long-term successful fulfilling
Mhm.
um, and tight-knit bonded relationship. There's no correlation whatsoever and there never will be. It's
Yeah.
about people choosing each other, what they have to sacrifice and what they're going to be vulnerable about going forward. And you don't have to necessarily feel like you have to do that. And love, as much as you may feel it for
Mhm.
somebody else, if somebody else doesn't interpret it that way, then it's not going to be a service to another person. So
Mhm.
I think that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I love that, and it really does just kind of make me think that if people were to stop seeking outside validation for themselves, that would probably solve a lot of shit too.
A lot, but it's okay. But it's about you're okay to feel that way. We
Mm-hmm.
all compare, whether it's a
Yep.
dollar more, a better car, a better house, a better looking person,
Mm-hmm.
a higher education, a better title. Like
Mm-hmm.
we all, it's fine. That's
Yep.
normal.
Yep.
But this is what I have. And what I
Yeah.
kind of tell people is that in your type of statistics too, what type
Uh-huh.
of statistics are you associated with? Because for me, if I compare myself to the rest of the other 8 billion people in the world, I would really put myself in the top 5%.
Yeah.
Just because where I am, safety, accessibility, finances, resources, laws, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. So it's like looking forward, it's like these small knits amount of people, but other people are not here. So sometimes that gratitude and that mindfulness of saying, yeah, I'm always comparing what's in front of me, but never what's behind me.
Mm.
I think people can implement that skill as they get triggered naturally
Uh-huh.
about their comparisons with other people in different facets.
Mm. Okay. And that is something that we can definitely talk about and
Oh yeah,
explore in depth next time for sure.
absolutely.
Um, just because right now we've got time just enough for a quick little game show.
Let's do it.
All right. So, all right, Philip, it's time for a little segment we are going to call Toolbox or Trap.
Cool.
I'm going to throw out some common practices, beliefs, or buzzwords floating around the mental health space.
Got
And
it.
you tell us straight up if something belongs in the healing toolbox or if it's a trap we need to watch out for.
Got you.
All right. So, first up, daily affirmations. Toolbox or trap?
Trap.
Trap?
I don't think that there's any evidence with talking positive. Again, I think it's that relation that you have to strive for the positive, but I
Mhm.
think it's just that no, you need to be able to operate within how you feel that day regardless. So
Ooh.
your self-talk about this positivity, sometimes I think if your affirmations are like more actually more negative than they are positive, I actually
Mhm.
think that you would say those like I'm not in danger. I'm not in that situation anymore.
Mm.
I'm in a better spot than what I was. Actually, I think those are more aware and a better foundation to say, "Oh, I'm going for that. I'm heading for that. That's my goal." No, I think again operating within that foundational negative space in the
Mhm.
experience of a human being, and then also more of looking back at where you came from so that way you're able to go forward. I think
Mhm.
your affirmation should be more about more negative, not negatively impactful, but more
Mhm.
negative and more grounded compared to that forward thinking. Because now,
Mm.
if I go about my day and I don't feel that and I didn't accomplish that and I don't have that, now I'm
Mhm.
disappointed. So,
Oh.
I think it's more something we can throw out. I don't necessarily implement that in my practice with a lot of people. I just don't. So journaling, yes, but not necessarily affirmations.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Gave me a good bit of stuff to think on right there. Hyper independence.
Hyper independence.
Mhm.
We can I would say throw that out. I think you need to be a self-sufficient adult because if
Okay.
anybody from the micro to the macro have to carry you, then it's a burden unnecessarily to somebody else. So
Mm.
everybody has different attachment styles.
Uh-huh.
So again, understanding your own attachment style is very important. So if you haven't ever done that type of assessment before, it's very free on Google to do your attachment style. Again,
Mhm.
the more aware you are of yourself, if you are that type of person and you see that it's overbearing or that it exhausts you or that codependency
Mhm.
takes away your autonomy for being self-sufficient. So I would just be more informed about that and know that that could be dangerous for yourself and then for other people. So
Mm.
you may be hyper in that type of way, but
Uh-huh.
again, just like anything, we want to get you a little bit more mild, more independent, more self-sufficient for yourself in many different facets. So just be
Okay.
vigilant about that.
Okay. Thank you for that. And up next, couples journaling.
Oh, that's nice. I would say put that in the toolbox.
Okay.
I think again, what I would like to, how I kind of do with couples is you. underestimate culture. And culture isn't just Day of the Dead for Hispanic and LGBTQ or Black History Month. It's not about that. Culture is sneaker, anime, gardening club, workout club, your religion, your, your, in a Independence Day, if you're in your national culture, is just a subset group that people enjoy being around each other. So when you're meeting a person, they have their own culture, their own beliefs, their own practices in different facets. Understand that now it's a Venn diagram where you're coming in the middle and you're combining those. So hey, you're avoidant, you're more assertive. So how do we meet in the middle when you're like this and I'm like this? You're more passive, you're more good boundaries. How do we put that together? I don't know. You're Muslim and you're Christian. How are we gonna make this work? That's a very hard, thing to put in the middle, but maybe it does. So I'm saying as you combine together, I think you should know what are my cultures, my beliefs, my values, and what are theirs, and then coming with that together. So if you journal that yourself and then bring that to the table, I think that would be such a great tool. And actually, I've never had couples do a couples journal. I had them do their own journals, but I actually never brought that together. So I actually might add that to my toolbox too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just a little bit of a sneak peek. Me and my wife, whenever we started dating, I actually started up a Google's doc and shared it with her, and I titled it. I
Nice.
What did I title it? I titled it. I think it was a journal for two lovers. Yeah, a journal of feelings for two lovers wanting to best communicate as best they can.
Okay, that's
And
nice.
so
Okay.
and so what we do is we'll actually just sit there, we'll do our date, our name, and then whatever entry it is, and we'll use
Yes.
it for stuff that we need to talk about, but we don't know how to talk about face to face, or like, hey, I'm going through this and I just need to get it out. I don't need to like burden you with it right now. I just need to get off my chest, just stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, it's helped out a ton, and I think we have like over 100 pages or so.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. Oh wow. I think that's a great tool. I think I'm gonna add that. I never really thought about that. So I think that's just so helpful for somebody again to just know like I just sometimes can't communicate sometimes or I don't know. It's just to jot notes down and just reference it later. That's
Yep.
great because I think people again they just kind of have an expectation of a relationship with somebody, but no, it's just like a workout. Like you need to work on
Yeah.
the relationship very intentfully, whether it's sitting down with finances, whether it's about life decisions, or whether it's about attending to the quality of our relationship, however way you go about that, you
Yep.
need to be able to do that with yourself. And it's or even scheduling sex. That's another thing because a lot of people are sexless when they come to me. It's like
Yeah.
schedule it, and they're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to. It's not natural. It's not sexy. It's not. I know, but this is not about it feeling that type of way. This is about we need to have sex and be able to connect. If the spark comes back and you start doing the freak stuff again, awesome. But now we need to force it. So even the relationship needs to operate within the negative, even if it's just something you kind of just let it go along. But it's so cool that you're very intentful with your wife about that. That's just a brilliant idea. Like I'm definitely going to take that back to my clients for sure. I haven't not ever heard of that yet.
Yeah. Just simple Google Docs and share it with each other. It's awesome. And operating the couple's relationship in the negative too. I like that. That is really good too. I like that a lot. Okay, I've got two more at the moment.
Gotcha.
All right. Snooping through your partner's phone to build trust.
Throw that out.
Right.
I think one as a person, I would just say you got to choose your battles. Just choose your battles. And then I think again, it's one of those where that is their autonomy. And if you are worried about it, that again, based on your attachment style and your traumas and your insecurities, maybe that's an issue. But again, bring that to the table.
Okay.
Say what it is because it's never about the thing, it's about the interpretation about the thing. Like what happens happens. It's about your feeling and your relation to that type of thing. So it's not the phone. It's
Yeah.
about somebody maybe being dishonest about the intent of what they were supposed to do for another person. And if they're doing that, then bring that to the table. To say like, no, that's a boundary of mine, and that's something that I find disrespectful, and either reinforce it or not reinforce it. based on that. So I would not necessarily do that. But again, choose your battles
Mm-hmm.
with that, because again, it's like, what is the long term effect of what I'm doing? The
Uh-huh.
short term effect that it's like this, but then also how does this going to affect our relationship going forward? And
Mm.
sometimes it doesn't need to just be taken upon just because you feel that way right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely choose your battles on that one. And last for right now, attachment styles.
Definitely understand that for yourself.
Uh-huh.
Again, I think we all connect with that. Again, I think it's more, mother, father. I think Freud was very right on about that. And
Uh-huh.
so that's just a representation in your romantic life too. So
Yeah.
understand that and communicate that, because again, some people are judgmental about other people's attachment style. But to
Mm-hmm.
me, it's more of like, I have to love them. That they're not gonna change their attachment style. So it's either I'm staying and this works for me,
Uh-huh.
or I'm going. And to me, it's like, if you like somebody and you love somebody, you have to like them for them. If it's an anxious
Mm.
attachment style, if it's an avoidant one, like, that's them. So how do I more make them feel safe? It's an opportunity. How do I make
Yeah.
them feel safe that they can come to me? How do I make it feel like they don't have to argue? How do I make it feel like we can have a civilized conversation? How do I make
Mm-hmm.
it feel like we don't have to get disrespectful and go over each other's boundaries in order to attend to this? What things make them feel fulfilled with that
Mm-hmm.
attachment style? Look at it again. Look at it as this is an opportunity for somebody to be vulnerable and feel safe. And how do I make that for them? What
Yeah.
happens is that you think that that attachment style doesn't serve you. No, that
Mm.
attachment style serves them. It was their
Uh.
way to survive. That's
Uh-huh.
their coming up, that's their conditioning. So
Mm-hmm.
when you make it about you, you're going to feel negative about their attachment style and how it affects you.
Mm.
But you can make it positive if you make it about them. And once you serve them, you will be surprised at how it's going to serve you.
Man, I love that. Thank you for that. Um, and that really does throw a lot of people's relationships on its head whenever it comes to serving them and it's going to come back. And it's a lot like in
Yes.
recovery. You got to
Yeah,
give to get. So,
absolutely.
um, I have more questions, but we're running short on time.
Yeah, all good.
So, real quick, thank you for playing our new game, Toolbox or Trap.
Loved it.
And because of that, you have earned yourself the title, the Bridge Builder of Breakthroughs, my friend,
Let's
for your
go.
for your ability to connect everyday people with deeper healing through a blend of heart, science, and honesty.
Yeah. Let's
So,
go.
one last question. Philip, the name of this podcast is Retrieving Sanity, and we explore how all facets of living life impact mental health. Looking at the incredible motley adventures of your life, what does retrieving sanity personally mean to you today, and what's one practice or perspective you believe is crucial for anyone on that journey?
Receiving sanity. Well, I guess you can do the opposite, which is insanity, which is trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Uh
I
huh.
think that's a fundamental philosophical wisdom statement.
Mm-hmm.
And so to achieve that sanity, look about what you need to change, because I'm doing the same thing expecting a different result. So that probably
Mm-hmm.
means I need to do something different.
Yeah.
So whether that's attending to my emotions, whether that's trying out something new, whether that's attending to a bad habit or addiction, or attending to a wound that is just kind of been there or compartmentalized because of life. No, like, start unboxing those type of things. Start saying that now today I can choose a different behavior, and instead of a reaction, it's becoming a response. So if you see yourself or see situations that keep happening to you, and those things keep letting you down and impacting you negatively, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably something that you need to change. And having your relation to explore that, your curiosity to
Mm-hmm.
keep saying that I will never be a certain type of thing, I'm always going to be growing,
Mm-hmm.
then stay curious about that. If not, then you're going to stay insane. But I think that would be a good way for people to reach at least a fundamental sanity for themselves.
Ooh, I like that. Flipping the script on its head.
For sure.
Something that you seem to be really good at doing. So, Philip, I've got to say thank you very much for being on the show today
Yeah,
because it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure. I'm looking forward to our future conversations. We'll get
absolutely.
something set up. But everyone out there, thank you for listening to Philip and Keegan on Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And catch us next week. But I've got to remind y'all, love yourself, love others if you can. But first, you got to love yourself. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to others if you can. But again, be nice to yourself first. And because all the other stuff will follow. And we'll see y'all next week. But until then, y'all just stay safe. Much love. Shalom Gafal. And stop. All right.